can just remember holding him and feeding him and looking at those beautiful eyes and looking at his struggle and letting that motivate me to do something, to go out and do something. And I would just stare into his eyes, and I promised him that I was going to make a difference for Down syndrome.
Yesterday, there was sun and there was rain, beauty in the mundane. And as the light startled our eyes, we let go of disguise. And now, there's something in the air, and a sparkly shimmer on our skin, restoring everything within. Oh, dreamy, breezy we go.
After you get over the diagnosis, I think that there's a phase that most parents go through, and it's wanting to get involved with Down syndrome organizations, and you just get kind of in this zone where you're looking to the national organizations, you're trying to find your local organizations, and people just get really motivated. If you saw the Spencer Spicy video about spicy Down syndrome, you saw where I was putting on my Down syndrome tie, my Down syndrome socks. People go above and beyond, they start buying shirts, and I just think that's a natural thing, because you're looking for support and you're looking for comfort, and you're just trying to be part of this new community that you may have not been expecting. For me, it was a little bit different. After I got over the initial shock of the diagnosis, I got really motivated. I wanted to make a difference. This was now my passion. This was now my focus. And I didn't quite know how to do that in the beginning. Whenever Spencer was born, the hospital he was born at, we didn't have any social workers come talk to us. There was really nothing there support-wise. However, we were later transferred to Baton Rouge, and Spencer was in the NICU for about a week. And while we were there, that's when my wheels really started spinning. And we received a basket from an organization called Ella's Endeavor, which is now part of Upside Down's a nonprofit here in Louisiana. But it really touched us, and that's when I began thinking, how can I make a difference in my local community? And that's when we decided that we were going to start Upside Downs. Starting a nonprofit's not really the easiest thing to do. We were able to come up with a concept, come up with ideas, and launch the organization within 5 months of Spencer's birth. And we knew that we wanted to do new parent baskets. We wanted to change the way things were being done here locally to give the support that we thought was needed in a positive way. I remember there were times when I would look at Spencer, whether it would be holding him or just watching him fight to do the simplest things that a typical kid could do. But because of his low muscle tone, it was a lot harder for him to do. Spencer's been having therapy since he was 6 weeks old. Some of that therapy focused around teaching him how to feed. So it was a struggle early on for him to take a bottle like a normal child. But it was those moments when I was feeding him, and I would see his struggle. It was his strength that kept me motivated to keep going. And he has brush feel spots, and if you don't know what brush feel spots are, you might want to Google it. But it's these little diamonds around his eyes that just, when you stare into them, it's almost like you can see into his soul. So I can just remember holding him and feeding him and looking at those beautiful eyes and looking at his struggle and letting that motivate me to do something, to go out and do something. And I would just stare into his eyes, and I promised him that I was going to make a difference for Down syndrome. So we launched the nonprofit organization Upside Downs in April of 2016. Spencer was born in November of 2015. And then we started getting out into the hospitals, giving presentations to nurses, doctors, and telling them what it's like from a parent's perspective to receive the diagnosis, telling them our diagnosis story, letting them see the emotion. Because that early on into Spencer's life, it was still very emotional. And I had the opportunity to speak to a nursing class at the local university here. Whenever I speak to nursing students, it is my favorite speech to give because they are like sponges. The whole entire room was captivated in our message, and they were wanting to know more and more and more, and they saw the emotion that was coming across. And what we were trying to do is teach them or tell them things that they could potentially do when a diagnosis has been delivered. And they are the ones in the trenches seeing these families go through those births. So I remember giving a speech to a class probably in April or May of 2016. It's really funny how things work out, because sometimes in June or July, I believe, of that same year, I get a message on social media from a girl who was in the class that I spoke to. And she said, my cousin just had a baby with Down syndrome, and I immediately thought of you. And I was wondering if we can get one of your baskets to her. And that really was one of the coolest things ever. So like I immediately drop what I'm doing. I go and meet this girl. She delivers the basket. And the basket was for Spencer's first girlfriend named Hayden. It was for our family, Danielle and Jordan. And since then, we've become great friends. And I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce you to Danielle, Jordan, and Hayden.
I'm Danielle. This is Hayden. And this is our story of how we met Bo and Spencer. Whenever we were in the NICU right after we had Hayden, we didn't know anybody. We just received our diagnosis, and we received a basket from an organization called Upside Downs, which Bo and Michelle run, and I'm now affiliated with. And that basket's what connected us to them. After we got the basket, we reached out to Bo, and he offered to cook us some food. And if you know Bo, then you know he likes to cook, and he's always game to cook somebody something. And he cooked us a big old pot of spaghetti, which was great. And once we were ready, we came over here and we sat on the couch and we had a big old conversation with him and Michelle and Spencer, and they helped us see how beautiful Down syndrome is, how blessed we were to have a child with Down syndrome, how normal and how typical Down syndrome is, and just being a part of their lives has made our lives a lot easier and a lot happier. We feel a whole lot more blessed. We definitely do live a normal, typical life. Look, Hayden, he's giving you a block. Can you say thank you? Stack it. Take it from him. Good job. Whenever Hayden and Spencer met for the first time, Hayden was probably 4 or 5 weeks old-ish. Spencer was about 1 or approaching 1. And they had an instant chemistry. We just knew from the get-go that they were meant to be. So from that day forward, we say Hayden and Spencer are boyfriend and girlfriend, and whether they like it or not, we have an arranged marriage planned for them for whenever they're older.
So the exciting thing about Danielle, Jordan, and Hayden is that Danielle and Jordan experienced as parents one of the most probably common things with individuals with Down syndrome, and it's the heart issues. And Hayden had to undergo surgery to repair her heart. And we are adding a playlist to this channel dedicated to Danielle and Hayden and Jordan and Hayden's heart warriors and her journey and struggle through that process, because we want parents who are going through the same thing to be able to watch Danielle and Jordan and Hayden and know that it's going to be okay. In the next couple of weeks, we'll be introducing videos more about Danielle and Hayden, and we hope that you have subscribed. Comment on this video if you'd like to hear us talk about something in particular. We want to thank all of you who have already been watching and subscribing.